You ever feel like you're hitting a forehand and it's like one shot you have power, one shot you don't have power, one shot it just doesn't feel connected. It feels like if you've ever heard that the kinetic chain, it's just your chain is broken, okay? So if you ever feel like it's just all disjointed, then this is the video you need to watch, because I'm gonna show you the important key markers to make sure you have great timing using your legs, hips, and shoulders and racket to hit your forehand, okay? So make sure you stay tuned. Okay, here we go. So in this video, like I said, we're gonna talk about how to have good timing with your legs, hips, shoulder, and racket. There's so much talk about the kinetic chain and how it all fits together. And I feel like I have an easier way of just putting it all together so it makes perfect sense. Now, again, the reason why this video is important is because the more you can have the sequence of going up from the legs to the hips, the shoulders, and the racket, the cleaner that sequence is for your stroke, especially your forehand, the better and more consistent your forehand's gonna be. So if you find your forehand kind of breaking down, or you're feeling like you have to muscle sometimes and it doesn't feel nice and smooth, this is why. You're not utilizing the ground force to the hips, to the shoulders, to the arm, and making sure the timing's correct. A big mistake I see a lot of players do is that they're so caught up in the racket head speed, and we start swinging faster with our arm, and it actually creates less racket head speed and less power for the ball. Because what I think of it, it's all, it's like cracking a whip. You have this one little motion at the end of the whip, and once you crack it, it sends a wave to the end of the whip, which cracks, poof, okay? You're doing the exact same thing with your body. The crack of the whip happens when you start pushing against the ground. And once you understand what we're gonna go through to figure that out for you, then you're gonna be able to do it all the time. An easy way of thinking about this is I think of putting tubes through your body. Doesn't make sense right now, but it will in a second. So if I'm standing like this, I have three locations where I would put a tube in, and you'd really understand what the contact needs to be like. So the first place would be my hips. So I take my racket a lot of times, and imagine putting a tube, or even just leaving your racket right here. See how the racket's nice and flush with my hips? This represents how my hips are turning, okay? So as I turn and coil my hips, the same thing's gonna happen with my racket. The second tube would be through my shoulders, okay? So this means that as I turn my shoulders, same thing's gonna happen with the racket. The third one would be the racket, okay? And what we wanna do is have alignment with all three in the direction we're hitting the ball at contact. So a lot of times as we're loading to hit the forehand, players try to muscle the ball, or what they do is they try to swing faster. And so what they do is they speed up their shoulders before they even make contact. So what do you see? This is the alignment on my shoulders facing the camera. This would be going cross court. This is the alignment on my hips, and my racket would be here. They're out of alignment. So what happens is, since they're out of alignment now and the shoulder's accelerating, you have no more force. The force for if I was using my hips would have been for hitting down the line here. But right now, my shoulders, if you can see that too, boom, and the racket, are ahead of my hips. So this is a break in the chain, and we don't want that. The correct way would be if I'm hitting cross court, then when I hit and I turn, boom, I have this action here. Look where the racket is, look where the shoulder position is, and look where the hips are. They're lined up, allowing me to drive and pull and drive that racket out in the same direction. There's alignment. The sequence happened, okay? Even though I know we're talking about the wave up, I'm gonna push, and this wave is gonna come up, it's gonna bring my hips, which is gonna bring my racket, and boom, okay? You have alignment. It's really important. So, to show you exactly how it looks when you have alignment, if I'm hitting a forehand cross court, I'm gonna, I have to do a couple things to make sure I have alignment. I have to make sure my feet are set up that allow, I have to make sure my feet, ball machine's off, or not. I have to make sure my feet are set up to allow me to get my hips rotating in that direction. And you can do that by using different stances. If you use the incorrect stance, what it's gonna do, it's gonna lock down your hip, which breaks the chain again. So an incorrect stance, I think, if you're hitting cross court, is going close. I'm stepping across my body here, and by doing that, when I try to rotate, boom, my hips are locked out. I can stretch forward with my shoulder and my racket, but I'm not gonna have a lot of power. If you do see this position, you see it because they're stepping off the outside leg and they make contact, and the following leg is going around. So a lot of times you might see the picture where they're like this, and you're like, Kevin, whoa. Well, what's happening is they're actually making contact, turning, boom, and as they're running through, boom. The actual contact was made with alignment, and since they're running, the left foot had to travel alongside it to keep the momentum going. So back to, if we're hitting cross court and we want to have the correct stance, we have two options. We can go semi-open, where I'm going to step out with my outside leg and go here, so I'm slightly open. And what this allows my hip to do is turn in the direction I'm hitting the ball. We can go where I can do a full open here, and still I can turn. Another position we can go is where we step the outside leg forward, cutting into the court, which is recommended, especially if you're going to hit a cross court. It makes it a lot easier, and it creates coil without you really having to try that hard. So if I'm cutting inside the court here, I can cut inside the court, and look how my hips are coiled, and it sets me up to making that great contact with good alignment. Racket, shoulder, and hips. So in review, the key to making sure that you have great timing is to make sure you have alignment between your hips, your shoulder, and your racket. To do this, you have to make sure you choose stances that allow your hip to rotate and make that alignment in the direction you're going to hit the ball. A bad stance to do this, especially if you're running out wide, is any stance that's going to lock your hips out, preventing your hips to rotate. Once you do that, you're going to be arming the ball. Now, I will say, sometimes your opponent might put you in a position where they get you off balance and you don't have the ability to get great timing, you're just getting the ball back. That's not what I'm talking about. It's when you do have the ability to get to the ball and set up, that we want to make sure we have the best timing so we have the best result on our forehand. So, what it looks like if I'm going out, oh, I got moved back. Even when I got moved back, see how I set up my hips to have that alignment. Boom, I'm moving back, I'm going open there, I'll cut inside the court, okay? All of it is setting my hips up to make sure they can turn. If I'm going down a line, see how my hip position changes a little bit. So make sure you have this alignment. I hope you enjoyed this video, got something out of it. Leave a comment and a like below if you did, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so you can get more great free videos to help you with your tennis game.